And welcome back, everybody. By the way, I think you know who I am. I'm Andy Greenberg, and this is...
Carole Greenberg.
And Carol, how are we related?
Well, I think I married you. Well, I was your former fiance.
Fiance, yes. Former fiance, current wife, and she's been joining me on these educational discussions. And this one is really going to be intriguing, somewhat controversial. Carol,
I like controversy.
are you ready for controversy?
I am.
And as we have always done before, Carol has absolutely no idea what we're going to be talking
Not a
about.
clue.
So we haven't rehearsed it. I haven't showed her any of my notes. She hasn't been part of this presentation. So she's going to be as new to it as you are. So let's begin. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some ancient Jewish texts that will connect the coronavirus and Passover.
Okay. If anybody can do it, you can.
Well, I appreciate that, but let's see how that works. So I'm going to read something to
see how
you.
that works.
And this actually comes from a fellow by the name of Maimonides, very famous individual. And I think we all know that Maimonides is famous for doing what?
Inventing chicken soup?
That's right.
Oh, I got it. Right. Bingo.
And a lot of other things too, but that's that's the biggest claim to fame. And by the way, what does chicken soup cure?
Cold.
And something else, leprosy.
Leprosy?
Yes. Yes, he has proven way back when that chicken soup solves both the common cold and leprosy. And I can actually prove to you that he was right about leprosy. Carol, do you ever have chicken soup?
All the time.
Do I have chicken soup?
All the time.
Do either one of us have leprosy?
No, but that's beside
Well, there we
the
go.
point.
Okay. Let me get serious here for a moment. Listen to this. It is a positive commandment from the Torah to cry out and to sound trumpets for all troubles that come upon the community. As it is stated, in response to an enemy who attacks you, you should sound trumpets. That is to say, regarding every matter that endangers you, such as famine, a plague, locust, and that which is similar to them, cry out to God regarding them and sound the trumpets. I know that's a lot to absorb, so I'm going to just read it again, but a little bit faster. It is a positive commandment from the Torah to cry out and to sound trumpets for all the troubles that come upon the community. As it is stated, it happened to be Numbers chapter 10, sentence number 9. In response to an enemy who attacks you, you should sound trumpets. That is to say, regarding every matter that endangers you, such as famine, a plague, locust, and that which is similar to them, cry out to God regarding them and sound the trumpets. All right, so what does that have to do? First, we're going to talk a little bit about the virus. What does that have to do with the virus? Any thoughts?
Well, the TV, the president, all the people involved, the doctors and everything are sounding our cry for the silent enemy that is attacking us.
Okay, we're not going to get involved in politics
No,
directly, which we never do, by the way.
No.
But there's a couple of things here that are hidden that is not being said, and that's what troubles me. So it says, again, to sound the trumpets in response to an enemy who attacks you. So what does that mean? Does that mean the enemy already attacked you? In other words...
No, they're saying that you should sound it before the...
That's not what it says.
Okay.
Now, that's what it should say. But that's not what it says, and that's what troubles me. In response to the enemy who attacks you. They already attacked. It doesn't say who plans to attack you.
Right.
Right? You should sound the trumpets for every plague and other similar things like a famine.
Because, when a plague comes, you don't know that a plague is coming until the plague is here.
Aha! Not necessarily.
You don't know that you're being attacked until you're attacked.
No. And that's the problem. Now, in a moment, we're going to talk about the virus, and then I'm going to connect it to Passover. So the fact of the matter is, whether we believe in the politics or not, when the whole thing started in China, we saw it on TV, and all of us, and that means you and me and the authorities, did we think that would ever come to us?
No.
No, that's the point, right?
That's the point.
That's the point. It happened over there. Did anybody sound the trumpets to the world and say, wait a minute, this thing could happen here? No. What happened was we heard about 1, 2, 10 deaths, more people, and all of a sudden they're closing down the city. Did the world sound the trumpets? No. Did travel continue?
Yes.
Yes. Right? travel continued, people came in, and we're not going to talk about whether we shut the borders in time or not. That's not the purpose of this whole thing. But we did not sound the trumpets. Now, what does that teach us?
Or we sounded the trumpet too late.
Too late.
Too
And
late.
that's what the point is here. The Maimonides, using a Torah portion, is telling us quite clearly, when something is beginning to happen, what you have to do is solve the problems. Now watch this. What is the first step in problem solving?
Identify the problem.
Anybody agree with that? She's wrong.
I'm wrong.
You're darn right you're wrong.
Okay, what's the answer?
You have to admit that there's a problem first.
Oh, you have to admit that there's a problem.
And that's what this little Torah parsha is teaching us. How often do we admit we have a problem, and then we said, you know what, I think I finally have a problem. Now I need to identify it, get some data, figure out how to solve it, and look for alternatives. The biggest obstacle in solving problems is what? We don't
acknowledge the problem.
We don't admit that we have it. And the Torah taught us, and you and I, to do that. And that's where the mistake would have been. If they would have sounded the trumpets like we did in previous diseases. Watch this. When SARS came out in China, did we immediately try and respond? Yes. When the other diseases came out, did we try and respond and prepare for it? Yes. Did we do it on this one? No. If the Torah would have been followed, that would have happened. Carol?
Okay, so that doesn't make any sense. Because
Why not?
Because if we took initiative and action for all the other ones.
Make sure they can hear you. You got to talk a little bit louder.
If we took initiative and action for all the other things that came our way, why did we drop the ball on this one?
It can't happen to us. Now, what does that have to do with Passover?
What does that have to do with Passover?
Actually, one of my students in 4th grade asked me this question when we were going over the Haggadah. And the student said as follows, Mr. Greenberg, when the Pharaoh decreed the slaying of the firstborn, when the Pharaoh decreed that there would be slavery, did the Jews do anything about it, or did they just sit back and let it happen to them?
They just sat back and let it happen to them for 400 years.
For 400 years. Did they say, stop, let's organize, let's prevent this from occurring, let's revolt? No. They took the same exact action that we in the world are taking today with the virus.
We started out that way. We've become a little bit more aggressive.
Yes.
I mean, we're not completely ignoring it now.
But did the Jews in those days admit that there was a problem?
No.
No, and that prevented it. And if you start to take a look at everything that occurred to the Jewish people, in the pogroms, God forbid, in the Holocaust, in the Spanish Inquisition, what did we do to prevent things from occurring? We were being attacked. Did we sound the trumpets? No. Clearly the Torah says to sound the trumpets, and we didn't. It's a very valuable lesson. But here's another one, connecting it right to Passover. Listen to this, and this also has a lot to do with the virus. There's a little part in the beginning of the Haggadah that says, all who are hungry,
let them come in and partake of food.
Let them come in and partake of food. It clearly says that.
Right.
And of course now that's a problem, but we'll talk about that during the Seder. But here's the bigger problem to that. In the coronavirus, from January 1st to April 1st, regrettably, 46,000 people, I believe, around the world passed away. Approximately that number. All right, not good.
Around the world.
Around the world, not a good number. At the same time, guess how many people passed away as a result of starvation?
I don't have any idea.
2 million people.
Currently?
From January 1st to April 1st. This year.
This January 1st?
Just this January, according to an internet very reliable site called World Data, 2 million people in the world passed away because of hunger.
Okay.
Has anybody sounded the trumpets?
No.
Has anybody sounded the alarm?
No, but are those are countries I think that we're talking about in Africa.
Who cares?
Right.
That's the point. Remember I said who cares? That's a double entendre. Why is it a double entendre? Who cares if it was in Africa? And who cares? What are we doing about that? Our Jewish religion says, if for those who are hungry, come join us. Now listen to this. Some people say the Seders are way too long. I don't want to sit through a Seder. I just want the short version. Don't give me the whole Baba Misa. Don't give me the whole story. When do we eat? Let me ask you this question. If those 2 million people who passed away between January 1st and April 1st had the opportunity to go to a Seder, and they were told to sit there for 2 hours and listen to a story, a true story, you think they would object?
Not if they were getting food.
Not if they were getting food. You think they would object?
No.
The answer is no. They would not have objected. And it is the same thing that we're doing now. You know, if somebody would have told us that we have to stay in our apartments, in our houses, in our units for an extended period of time, which we don't even know when that extended period of time is over, what would we have said?
What, are you crazy?
Crazy. You're out of your freaking mind. You're nuts. But the fact that we're staying in prevents us from getting sick and
passing it on.
And you know why?
Why?
The trumpets were sounded. A little bit late, but the trumpets were sounded. You see how brilliantly the Torah connects us with both Passover as well as the virus. And I think when we're all eating for Passover, and we come to that little sentence that says, let all those who are hungry come join us, you know what? Why don't we send them food? Why don't we go on the internet and make a donation to those not charitable organizations that are providing food?
Okay, but there are food banks that go on, and there are a lot of people that do that, and there are a lot of people that work in soup kitchens and try to help out those people.
Yes, but we don't work that. So we can donate money.
Right.
As anybody else can. We can donate money to that cause. All right, let's see what else we can come up with. And it continues. That was just part 1. And this directive is from the path to repentance. Now, don't get jumpy for a moment. When a trouble comes and they cry out about it, in other words, they sound the trumpets, everyone will know that it was because of their own actions that this bad is being brought to them. As it is stated in Jeremiah 5:25, it is your iniquities that have diverted you, and this is what will cause the community to remove the danger from upon them. So, Carol, when you hear that the first time,
a little confused, but
so what's your initial reaction to that? I'll read.
My initial reaction is that this happened because we did something bad.
So we're being punished.
We're being punished.
Did we do something bad? Is God punishing us? I told you this would be controversial. Did God punish us?
I don't think God's punishing us. I don't know why it's happening, but I don't think God's punishing us.
Okay.
I think as a human race, maybe we've destroyed the planet and we are not taking care of things and people and the nature and the water and the global warming and all that. I don't think that God is punishing us.
Exactly right.
Oh.
This is man-made. This is due to sanitary conditions. This is due to man's greed. This is due to the fact that, we didn't want to shut down the economy. We didn't want to shut down travel, especially China. Things continued where they sent their, and this is not a mandate against China. It just happens to be factual, okay? So they allowed their citizens to travel outside the country. And then, of course, we're hearing about price gouging in the medical materials that are needed. We're hearing about people hoarding. We're hearing about people taking ventilators and selling them to other countries before they're involved in the United States who purchase them. These are the things that we need to repent from. And here's something else that I think we're going to be repenting with.
But
Go ahead.
The global warming issue has been going on for a long time, and we don't seem to be getting anywhere with it.
Yeah, but you know why?
Why?
Because we don't care.
We do
We're not
care.
sounding,
We do care.
We sounded the trumpet. And, she talks about pollution. They found something out very interesting. Because that there are less cars driving in the world today, I don't know if you saw this, the satellites are showing that the air pollution throughout the entire world is the best that it has probably ever been.
But why are there less cars being driven?
Because people are forced to stay home.
Oh, now. You mean
right now?
You're talking about right now.
Right now.
Okay, right
so
now.
the air pollution has now begun to reduce, which is a beautiful thing. Catch this. And I might have mentioned this before, families. What was the family unit like before these times? I think we know the answer. Everybody cared mostly, I can't say everybody, many people cared more about themselves than their family. They have the wonderful kids, 3, 4, 5 kids. Mom and dad work. I'm not, again, not attacking, just being factual. Then when the kids come home, they don't have enough time to spend with them. There's no quality time. We all know this. It's not like it was in the past when you and I were growing up. Quality time with the children was probably one of the most important things. The bath was an important thing. Toilet training was an important thing. Reading to them was an important thing. You think many families were doing that prior to this? No. So what's occurring now?
Because of the isolation, families are becoming closer because they're forced into the situation. They have to learn to adapt to each other, and they're learning that they could have fun. I mean, they're trying to make it fun, especially for the kids
Yes.
who probably don't understand what's going on.
So even if the kids know what's going on, I want you to imagine this for a moment. Things return back to normal. And how is the child going to feel when all of a sudden they don't get the same attention? All of a sudden things go back to normal.
Well, hopefully there will be the new normal in the family dynamics, that they will realize they've had a good time and they've built up a relationship and they'll continue it.
And that's exactly what this says, doesn't it? It
I
says,
don't know.
and this
You're reading
directive
it.
is from the path to repentance. For when trouble comes and they cry out about it, sound the trumpets, everyone will know that it was because of their own actions that this bad is being brought to them. It's like God's punishment. We were doing this to ourselves in society. You know what else went down? Crime. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to get any worse when these things happen. People are buying guns right now to protect themselves
Which
in
is
record numbers.
crazy.
But there are so many new things that are happening. So, for example, when we're done with this, how much more are we going to appreciate our relations with other people?
Much more.
And how well, and all the things that we used to take for advantage and for granted, you think we're going to appreciate them more?
Absolutely.
Now, what does this have to do with Passover? Let's go ahead and connect it with Passover.
Let's do it.
Here we had the Jews that were slaves for how many years?
400.
400 years. And do you know when the first Seder was? The very first Seder?
Easter Sunday?
Okay, that's fine. Easter Sunday,
Sunday?
not really, but that's okay. I understand. You know, Easter Sunday is when
Right.
he rose from
The
the dead.
Last Supper.
The Last Supper. Oh, I see what you're coming
The
from.
Last Supper.
Okay, no, not really the Last Supper. The first Seder was the night before the Jews left.
You mean the night before they fled Egypt?
The night before they fled Egypt. That was the first Seder. Now you might ask yourself, wait a minute, they weren't free. Why would you have a Seder before you're free? The answer is because they knew that they would be free the next day, and they went ahead and began the custom of the Seder to show the appreciation that we were once slaves. And now we're free to do what we want. Now we're no longer going to be taken advantage of. We're going to appreciate every little thing that we have. So what does that mean? When we're done with this, are we going to fetch a lot about every little minuscule thing?
Probably. Because people forget easily.
I don't
They
think
really
that-
won't kvetch about every little thing. We really will appreciate it. But, you know, sometimes old habits are hard to die.
Yes, but yet, if
Yeah.
you really want to get rid of the old
You
habits,
can.
you absolutely can. And I know that for a fact. And so do you.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Carol and I are going to share a secret with you. Please don't tell this to anybody. We're on diets. We went on something called the South Beach Diet. And man, did that change everything of the way we eat. Now, the question is, when a diet is over, and I'm guilty of this because I've been on several diets in my life, as I'm sure we all have, did we go back to our old eating habits?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we did. Are we going to do it this time?
No.
I am not going to do it this
I'm
time.
not
I've
gonna
had
do
it.
it.
This is it.
This is
The
it.
weight comes off, and you know what? It's going to stay off. That's repentance. And that
Oh.
also tells us to continue when this is over. Maybe we're not going to hug physically, but let's hug emotionally. Let's take a look at everybody that went through that, share the stories, and come together and never ever take anything for granted anymore. The Jews didn't for a while. Then they complained when they were in the desert. That's a whole different story. But please, freedom. Something that we took advantage of and we took for granted. I want you to look around the world and see how many people, even in normal times, were told what they can do and they can't do. I want you to remember that when this whole thing started, the people in China were not allowed to speak out about it 5 people were murdered by the Chinese. This is factual, not attacking, because they identified the fact that there was a virus coming. We are free.
But we know that China is not good on humane
Yes.
situation.
We are free. Maybe you don't feel that way today, but this way we feel exactly like the Jewish people did at Passover. No, we're not slaves, kind of. I guess we are. We can't go out, can't do this, can't do that, can't do that.
But you're free, and you're homebound. You're not supposed to go out and
Right.
associate with people, but you're free to do whatever you want in your house. No one's making you do anything inside your house.
Correct. All right, let's go on to the third one from Maimonides. We've got 3 to cover and then one short one. But if they do not cry out and sound the trumpets, but rather say, what has happened to us in the way of the world, and this trouble is random. It just happened, which reminds me of 3 types of people, but I think I covered that once before, and causes them to cleave to their actions, which are destructive. Which means, after all this is over, if we go back to our old ways, lose our family values, lose our educational system, lose our eating habits, lose all the things that cause society, forget about this virus for a moment, that cause society to be in the mess that it is, where it isn't today.
However, I think there's one fact that is being overlooked.
Again, speak a little bit louder.
Okay, I think there's one fact that's being overlooked. Because of what's happening today, that the economy is going to be very bad, there are some people that will be okay, and there will be many people that won't be okay. So it may be hard for them to get back to what they think is normal.
Yeah. Yes, it might be, but you remember also, people are follow their instincts. So we need to change our instincts, and this is what the Maimonides was talking all about. And please remember, Maimonides goes back over 700-800 years ago, and we could see how his thoughts can apply to today's understanding of what life is all about. And by the way, there's so many Jewish texts that cover so many archaic things that you don't think make any sense, but by the time we start to discuss them as we are today, we could see how critical it is to learn from these lessons. So is the trouble random that's occurring? Or maybe society is giving us a lesson. Maybe society is telling us, once again, let's really get back to basic values of living life. Following rules, following laws that are good for society, that are good for us. And what does that have to do with Passover? What's the word Seder mean?
Order.
Order. And Carol always says, Andy, you got to put some order in your life. You got to get organized. And she actually pulled something on me the other day. We were preparing for a Seder, as we are, the one that's coming up. And, you know, I'm a little bit on the disorganized side. I've admitted to that. She's talked about that before. And she says, you know something, Andy, you kind of believe in all this Jewish stuff, don't you? I said, yeah, I do. I had no idea what trap I was going to get into. I didn't. She set me up beautifully. And she said to me, now the Haggadah is the order, the Seder. So if you believe in Judaism, why can't you follow the orders of organization? You know what you call that?
What do you call that?
Checkmate. Checkmate. Yeah, you do. So there's an order to everything in life. And Passover, just like this little lesson, teaches us about the order. Everything follows in order. Now, the question is, can we be in control of that order? Or is the order set for us? And that's where you start to get into, is God in our lives or not? So what do you think? Are we in charge of our own destiny? Or do we have the right to change the order of the world?
I believe we have the right to
Once again, a little bit louder.
I believe that we have the right to change the order. I do believe in predestination, but I also believe that you can jump in and change that order.
And isn't that not what we're doing in the world today? Now think about this. When all this is over, the order of life that we had, we kind of did to ourselves. We changed it. And it brings up the old saying that I used to talk about, and Carol and I don't think we agree on this.
What?
Do people change or do the times change?
I say that people change.
Then we do agree. Because at a time there was a time we didn't.
Times do change.
No, times
They go
don't
through
change.
new fads. They
Nope.
go through
Nope.
new technology.
Nope.
The
Nope.
times do
Nope.
evolve
Nope.
and change.
Nope.
Yes, they
Nope.
do.
Nope. Nope. They don't.
They
They
do.
don't. Carole,
Is 1980 the same as 1990?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I help you?
Absolutely. Why don't you help me?
You see, Carole, it's the same 24 hours a day. That has never changed. The people change what they do in those 24 hours. Did time give us new technology?
Yeah. They gave it.
Oh, you wake up in the morning, oh, it's 6 o'clock. Let me see what new technology gave us. There's no need for scientific discussion. There's no need for research and development.
The times are changing?
That's a lyric made up by some imaginary individual. Okay. The point of the matter is we are in control. Times don't change, people change. And we have to change around Passover time. And you know what a lot of people do around Passover? They change. What do they change? Believe it or not, watch this. They change their eating habits.
Well, they have to. It's mandated. You can't eat bread. They can't eat fish. It's whatever. Somewhere.
I'm confused.
It's somewhere written somewhere you shouldn't have this.
I'm confused. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
And it isn't amazing that maybe for 1 or 2 days, and in some cases 7 or 8, I mean, whatever a person's style is, or their ability to do it, they listen to those mandated rules, don't they?
I guess so.
Okay.
Habit. It's a habit.
No.
Yeah, it's a
not
habit.
habits. No,
It's
no,
a
no,
habit.
No. Okay, I'll take the word habit. So if for 7 or 8...
It's a tradition.
I'll take tradition. If it's 7 or 8 days that somebody can change their habits, their traditions, because it's mandated, so I'll help you out. If it wasn't mandated to have matzah, would you have matzah?
No, I hate matzah.
I rest my case. So it's mandated. It's also mandated when we're younger or older where we can to keep kosher. It's also mandated to follow the Jewish laws. So if we can follow the laws of Passover by going to a Seder, by having the matzah, taking a look for kosher for Passover food, and doing all of that stuff, then we certainly, if we set our mind to it, just like we're going to change the norm as a result of the virus, just as we are repenting from our social ways that we were involved in before all this happened, we can combine those lessons and change the way we approach our spirituality. I'm going to add one more word. Our connection to our spirituality. That's the lesson.
Okay.
And we also recognize that once we solve these problems in society, and we're the ones that do it, time doesn't change that, then once you increase your connection to spirituality, and you've heard me talk about this before, what happens to your better well-being, both emotionally, physically? It improves. And don't take my word for it, we talked about that before. So I think Maimonides was very smart. And it takes what he discussed years ago and approaches it today. So why do I always talk about Maimonides? One little part. And listen to this. Rabbi Elazar said in the name of Rabbi Hanina, every person who has a word in the name of the one who said it brings redemption to the world, as it is written, and Esther said to the king in the name of Mordecai. Confusing.
A little bit, but...
You got to talk louder.
Okay, a little bit, but maybe when Esther went to the king and said, I'm Jewish, don't kill the Jews, because Mordecai said to her, you need to do something about it.
Who's Mordecai?
Her cousin, her uncle.
Do you think he cares?
I don't know.
My uncle said this. You know what it reminds me? The time we were walking through Istanbul and people came up to us and said, hey, I got a...
My uncle has a carpet shop. Let me show it to you.
So who cares? Rabbi Elazar said in the name of Rabbi Hanina, every person who says a word in the name of the one who said it brings redemption to the world, as it is written, and Esther said to the king in the name of Mordecai. This has a direct connection to American law.
Enlighten me, please.
Copyright and plagiarism.
Copyright.
You see, the Talmud has so many statements where this rabbi, it's even in the Haggadah, I think, this rabbi said in the name of this rabbi knew the son of this guy who said this.
Give credit where credit is
Give
due.
credit where credit is due. never plagiarize, never ever be involved in copyright infringement. You know where that idea came from? Right here, in the Talmud. That's why the rabbis are always quoting everybody else. That's why I said so many times during this little presentation that my Maimonides said this, my Maimonides said this, my Maimonides said that. And now I'll share one more thing. Where on earth did I get this little thing here to begin a study session? Do you think I found it on my own? No. I was on a conference, an internet lesson with a rabbi in Omaha, Nebraska. He presented it. I liked it. I put my own little twist on it, but that was the source. Did I invent this stuff? Did I do the research? Usually I do the research and I find all this stuff, but this time somebody did it for me. So I want to give Rabbi Abraham of Bethel Synagogue in Omaha, Nebraska, credit for finding this, and then Carol and I added our own little twist to it. And that's exactly what that means. So in today's discussion, we learned, what did you learn in today's discussion? Before I review, I want to know what you reviewed.
I learned about listening to sounding the trumpet, that you should be responsible and you should be responsible for everything in the world.
Once again, a little louder.
You should be responsible for everything in the world, and that hopefully we won't go back to doing the way we won't go back to the way the things were before, and that we can move forward. And I learned about this copyright thing just now. I never knew that.
And exactly right. We talked about blowing the trumpet, but I think the other important thing is before you actually start to identify the problem, what do you have to do?
Admit there's a problem.
You have to admit that there's a problem. So I hope you enjoyed this little discussion.
I did.
Taking old Torah and old rabbinical thought and applying them to both Passover and the virus. And it's very good that we're all together. But here's the next thing. What are you going to do with the information that you just learned? So I'm going to put you on the spot.
No, please do.
What are you going to do with the information that you just learned?
Well, as we talked about our diet, I'm not going to go back to my old ways of eating because it's not good for my health. So I'm going to move forward with that. I generally speak up when there's a right that there's a wrong that needs to be righted. Other than that, I enjoyed the lesson. That would be about it.
One other additional thing to that. There's been a lot of words on Facebook and on the internet that the Jews are the ones that cause this problem. The Jews are the ones that are going to benefit from it. The Jews are the ones that want to destroy the world. Obviously, that's not true.
Yeah, but there was some good that came out of it because there was a little article about the people in New Rochelle that they're the first group that had it, and now they're offering their plasma so they can study about the antibodies. So hopefully some good will come out of that.
Hopefully some good will. We're going to end on this. Am Yisrael Chai. Let the Jewish people live. Let the Jewish people continue to grow. Let the Jewish people continue to prosper. Let us all have and look forward to a magnificent Passover. And let us make sure that in the very short term, we can be once again together, learning, praying, socializing. My name is Andy Greenberg, and I'm with
Carole Greenberg.
And have a terrific day. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later. Bye.